It's Ray Give TV.
In the block.
TV.
Let's get right to it.
And to be honest, again, I'm a younger dude than Wack, so like, you know, when I get my perception of Diddy, I never met him ever in my life. My perception of Diddy, I used to think Diddy, like, you know, he was a player. I used to think he was a fly dude, especially over time. I thought a lot of things about him, but I never thought he was somebody who, like, when I'm reading these stories about, like, Kid Cudi looked terrified about it, about him. You know what I mean? Kid Cudi was kind of capping. Kid Cudi said, "Yo, after I heard that he was pulling up on me, I wanted to fight him." He lied, because like, you don't go from saying I want to fight you to testifying against you. It don't work like that. So, you know, it looked like Diddy had a side that really a lot of people didn't know about. Like, if somebody had told me that Diddy heard some shit about Suge and said, "Yo, let's grab the guns and go pulled up on him," I would have said that sounds like a fucking lie.
That's cap. He didn't do
I thought
that.
Diddy was a punk.
That's a lie. He didn't do that.
You don't think he did that?
No, I know he didn't do that, man. Niggas do that shit. That's the oldest trick in the book. Guys, you go to the W Hotel, trying to find a way. You got a hotel. You're trying to find a way to get to her. You answer the fake phone call. There ain't nobody on. You yell, you scream, grab your pistol, you storm out the house. That's it. Nowhere ever has that dude Puffy pulled up on anybody with no gun. That ain't him.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think like he was. Maybe when it comes to shit like that, he was aggressive himself. But what
No,
it
he a
tells me
holler
is,
and scream at his employees and women. His employees and women and people he got control over, he'll do that shit with. He not doing that with just regular people.
you don't think that he would be able to probably tell. Like, he probably had a few people around him that he might not be like that, but he might tell them like, "Yo, nigga, come on, we about to go rob." He gonna stay in the
No,
car.
that wasn't his type of circle. His circle wasn't like that.
Mm.
You never know Diddy to run with like them type of niggas. You know, you had Wolf. Wolf was a serious dude, but you know that was business. That was security. Diddy didn't run around with this wide open type of niggas.
What about like D-Rock or whatever? You know, I know it's security, but
Again, it's a kid. Like, look, Suge ran around with niggas fresh out the penitentiary. Suge will pull up to the park in the hood. Look, what's up? What y'all doing? Y'all want to roll? And niggas are jumping cars, nigga, right off the block. That type of shit. That's wide open shit. Diddy shit was all right security. You know, regular people. You know, they had their guns and shit. They're men. But he wasn't running around with niggas that's talking about we finna go pull up on Suge. Nah, he wasn't doing that.
yeah, I guess that's also interesting too, because like when you hear all these stories, and you got to realize, man, I'm reading every tweet. You know, shit. We even at this point we get the transcripts about like 3 or 4 days later from the presentation. The way how they paint Diddy is like, and everybody was scared of Diddy.
Now him throwing a printer and doing all that shit internally, oh yeah, he do all that. I didn't watch him holler and scream at his people and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, the only thing that I just don't hear him, other than the Kid Cudi shit, I don't hear him doing a lot of things that dudes, unless it was maybe dudes that worked, you know. And I don't know. It's kind of hard to kind of like. I felt like I never knew Diddy because I was based on how when I heard the East Coast West Coast shit, I thought Diddy was a punk. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought he
You
was
thought he
literally.
was a what?
I thought he was a punk in the sense of when it came to handling business or dealing with violence, he wasn't trying to do that.
He is. He really is though, because he's gonna pick and choose who he does that with.
But that might not be a punk. He might be smart then.
I mean, call it what you want. You know, if it's his employees or motherfucker, he feel like he can take advantage of, then he gonna holler, scream, and all that shit. But he ain't. For instance, one time we was in the studio, Games engineer Brian, Diddy's in the booth, and Diddy might be. He looked like he might would have been a little loaded. So Brian's real. You know, he one of the top engineers in the game. He didn't did it for everybody. So Diddy started to feel like Brian was fucking up. And Brian punched him, punched him in and was like, hey, that's on you. The delay's on you, not me. And then Diddy was like, man, you know who the fuck I am, Playboy? And Brian, he's a white dude, older white dude. He punched in, we can hear him say, I don't know, I don't give a fuck who you. Giving immediately warning. Diddy will fuck you up behind our engineer, you know that, bro. So make the right decision. He let that shit go. Didn't take no yelling, hollering and screaming, none of that. Like he know who to do that shit with. If he feel like he got some control over you and you need him and all that shit, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he'll play with you.
Yeah.
Now,
A lot of the more I cover the case, and that's why I spend about like 6-7 hours every day while the court things happen. I try to see every perspective because it's super interesting. On You could take away a couple things. This is one of the takeaways I've been taking away. Right, man, ain't nobody that has been with him who didn't get fired has anything bad to say. It's always the people who get cut off the situation. You know what I mean? I was waiting to see. There's a white lady. They keep calling it the Ghislaine Maxwell of the whole situation. They say he was helping, or she was helping him to cover up all the stuff. Her name is KK, Christina Karam. Today was announced pretty much Diddy's defense team is talking to her lawyer, which means that he's not going against Diddy like that. D-Rock was supposedly, I don't know if D-Rock is termed at this point, but D-Rock was reaching out to people while the investigation was going on. Even the person today, which I guess through some of the coverage we did, and obviously the internet people doing they digging. The person who goes as Mia is really like a Jane Doe type of situation because she didn't want to use her real name. Her real name is Sarah Schnecker, and basically she claimed Diddy raped her. Raped her on his birthday. Every year after the rape, she had the biggest post about how she was excited about his birthday. So Brian Steele, who represented Young
Yeah,
Thug,
that's
was like,
crazy.
so he raped you on his birthday, but every year you had the biggest post about how much you loved him on his birthday. You made videos talking about happy birthday, you changed my life, I love you so much. It's kind of it's hard to kind of see some of these situations, and now I understand, like, violence, and especially domestic violence, and sometimes it takes a while for people to leave or report it. But some of these people seem really motherfucking happy while the going was good. It's only till after. I mean, shit.
Yeah, you know what, Ak? How do you see? That's the dangerous part. Okay, he thinks he's having his fun. He having sex with you in random places. Boom, boom, boom. You screaming how much this, how much is cool. And then now he's in a situation and you switch it all up.
Yeah,
Anybody can switch it up on you, bro.
yeah, and I think we've seen a lot of that though. Like the majority of the cases the majority of the cases, you're seeing people who, at the time, whatever they claim happened, they'll have an incident date. Be like, yo, on this date, he broke my jaw. This date, pause, he raped me. And then they'd be like, yo, like, they even point out, they said, so wait, so 2 days after he raped you, you telling him how much you appreciate him. It says, yo, every other Instagram post you put up on your Instagram for the next 3 years had him in there. You're posing with him with his shirt off afterwards. Like, this shit not traumatizing you? Again, it's a lot of there's a way to look at it that it looks like buyer's remorse. The only thing that fucks it up for Diddy is that the dude was a violent dude. He used to put his hands on people. So when you think about that, the only you could possibly think, oh well, maybe he was beating their ass and they didn't know how to leave. But a lot of these people, from my opinion, they all had the opportunity to leave.
now, Ak, this is from Tink. This is AB. Just speaking on that, she's asking, you've talked about gatekeeping and silencing in the industry before. Do you think Diddy's situation is exposing how much power these so-called black excellent figures really have behind the scenes?
A bit, a bit. The more you kind of get around, like I've been around, whether it's rappers or people who are maybe like in positions of power, maybe like executives or whatever. And yeah, like, people not gonna really fuck up the bag. You know what I mean? People are gonna cover up shit. If somebody's a drug addict, the team is gonna try to make sure they cover it. Like these things happen. I'm gonna be honest with you, I think that's more normal than not. The only thing, again, I don't think that means that's like a racket though. Like, especially when it comes to this Diddy stuff, they're charging racketeering like this is an organization and shit. No, I'm pretty sure all the security guards, I'm pretty sure they weren't down with Diddy slapping her or whatever. They probably just say, we gonna mind our business, we wanna keep our job. So, but there's a lot of covering up going on in the industry. There's a lot of times you have somebody who's an addict who the team got to cover up for, make sure that whenever they go out, they look good. They don't fall over. They don't, you know what I mean? But they know they got a habit. So now this happens a lot. I think to this extent, though, I don't think I've seen this before. I mean, we're talking about a dude who paid $5 million for an NDA to a sex worker that videos of him and Cassie didn't come out. That's what supposedly Jonathan Odie got. This is a guy who pays $50,000 or $100,000 to the intercontinental worker to delete that. Like, this is a guy who he has infinite means. Like, if you come at me and you say, yo, you got a video, I got a video of you tripping your girl and then you kicked her, give me $5 million. I'm like, nigga, I'm gonna put it out myself. I ain't got that much money to be for what Diddy was doing. It really requires a lot of money. Like, you know what I mean? Even the woman on the stand today, Sarah Schnecker, the one that she's going by the pseudonym Mia, she wanted $10 million. Diddy gave her $400,000. She busted down with her lawyer. Cassie got $20 million. You get to realize there's a lot of these people who, like, if we really go over all the money that Diddy paid out over 15, 20 years, Diddy probably paid out close to $50 million or more trying to cover things up, whether it was hospital visits. He was flying in, the dude is flying in, he would just bust open Cassie's eye and fly in a goddamn plastic surgeon, like overnight. Bring the plastic surgeon in. We got to do fucking, we got to fix this shit like in the hotel. Like, they were doing extreme shit. So Diddy, I've never been around that much money and power that you could spend that much covering up the bullshit. But every rapper I've ever been around, there's usually some type of, because again, it's a lot of times you're seeing these young black dudes, they got money, and then they kind of get a team that whatever bad, like, they can't really talk back to the person who, is in control. They can't really say shit. So there's usually covering up of whatever going on. You know what I mean? Whether the drug habit, crimes, cheating, all of that. But the shit we're seeing with Diddy, I've never seen this shit before. Like, this takes a different level of money.
Now, Ack, when you say it was a different level of what's going on, I know we've been talking about the Diddy, but we do have some questions coming out the chat. So I was going to pivot real quick because Two-Face actually wants to know, like, what's this deal with, what's really behind the feud with Ab-Soul? Is this just rap beef or something personal?
I don't know. Like, well, first of all, I think if anybody's watched me for, whether, I've been doing my thing for 15 years, I've always hated, and I get it, at this point, my name is a polarizing figure, where if you mention me, you could get some type of either traction or people would be like, okay, or sometimes, it's polarizing in the sense of, it's like the villain. Like, if I say, yo, fuck this guy, like, people like, oh yeah, we don't like him. You know what I'm saying? So I take the good and the bad with it, I don't really get too sensitive with that. What I do always call out is when I feel like a rapper don't have no traction and they resort to using this one trick of, let me just bring up Akademiks' name to get some type of attention. I think Ab-Soul, I think he did a weak trick. You know what I mean? I think the narrative, and I don't know what you guys think, but I think the narrative has been that Joey Badass is applying belt to ass. You know what I mean? And I think this was a desperate move. And, here's the thing too. If I don't respond and like, Because it's one thing, you know, and I seen him. He came back around today, and I think he was just like, "Nah, I was just trolling." Well, here's the thing: if I don't respond strongly to it, you know, it's like, again, I'm not no hood nigga, but like I think I understand the theory of if I live in a neighborhood and I let one nigga rob me and I don't say nothing, another nigga gonna be like, I'm gonna do the same thing. So when rappers start, you know, with this idea of threatening, because they don't talk like this about everybody else. I ain't listen, and we can take it off Absol, but just mention any other rapper. I ain't never seen a rapper say, when I see Wack, I'm gonna slap him. They talk about Wack, or they talk about other people with a different level of decorum. You know what I mean? So again, if you let them talk about you like a dog, and you let them talk about you like, yeah, when I see this nigga, I'm putting hands and feet on him, it kind of breeds this idea that this nigga is just like, this is a pinata. And one thing for sure, two things for certain, I'm just not gonna be, you know, whether it's for clout or whether it's just for attention, I'm just not gonna be the guy who you're just gonna make this idea be known. Yo, this is the guy we just beat the shit out of, or this is the guy we could enact violence on. And also, here's the thing too, you know, over time too, like I've just become less believable of rappers. You know what I mean? Like, I've been doing this for like 15 years. I have a lot of people who said they were gonna beat me up, slap me, spit on me, whatever. I think I'm pretty good so far. But, and also, you know, just over time, I told people, I said, I used to, when I first came in this game, I thought the rappers were the toughest dudes in every neighborhood, the biggest killers. It wasn't until I started seeing more and more things, I'm like, a lot of these rappers, they're just good at rhyming words. They do have some killers around them, but they're not the tough guys themselves. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie, and again, not trying to besmirch his like legacy, but one of the times that I saw and I was just like, wait, but I thought these rappers was like that. Was remember when Nipsey was getting into it with somebody, and it was the weatherman, and he was saying, yo, this guy, blah, he's a buster, or whatever. And the dude said, yo, we could fight. Let's fight one-on-one. And Nipsey wanted to talk about everything but that. And I was like, wait, huh? I thought rappers were the toughest. I really used to think rappers were the toughest niggas on earth. And I think that idea of that eroded, and I realized that rappers are nothing without their crews. So I adopted the philosophy of, okay, if I could isolate it, and here's the thing, the good thing about me, there's no expectation of me, so that's good. If I could isolate it, I want you to show me.
Big Act came through, man. Shout out to him and everything he's doing. Make sure y'all follow, subscribe to his channel. He got content premium every day. He gonna run it up for sure. Shout out to Wack as well, you feel me? We're gonna bring the content. Y'all go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and share the video. Be sure to tell a friend and tell a friend. We got content. But until next time, it's already giving them gone. God bless. Peace.